Hi guys, how's it going? My name is Joe Tyrrell and welcome to The Undercut, the GPblog podcast. The year is 2010. South Africa are preparing to host the Football World Cup. Everyone is desperate for the latest BlackBerry, and I hadn't even started secondary school. We also had one of the most dramatic F1 seasons in recent years, and looking back at the 2010 and 2011 season will be my trusted panel of experts. This is the GPblog Decade Review, Episode 1.
Valtteri, it's James.
Come on. Get it, Joe. No, and that's going to ruin the undercut attempt. The undercut.
Well, Adam, Nick, welcome to my time machine. The year is 2010, which was a pretty huge year for Formula One, Nick.
So many things to get into, even without talking about racing itself. You had the new point system, you had Fernando Alonso going to Ferrari, you had Michael Schumacher coming back, you had 4 new constructors, you had Mercedes obviously making their debut. There's so much going on. I think 2010, obviously, and talking about racing, Vettel becoming the youngest champion ever. There's so much going on in this season. I think is this the best season of the decade? I think so.
I would say it's my favourite season of the decade, for sure.
Adam, so one of your favourite drivers made the switch to McLaren Mercedes.
Yeah, Jenson Button, coming off an excellent 2009 season with Brawn GP, made the switch to McLaren, and it was pretty good for him. He had a good time at McLaren until the last few years. Sadly, didn't get any more titles, only a few more wins. Couldn't quite repeat that incredible form of 2009.
It's almost as if it was a one-off season where he got a bit lucky.
It was almost as if he's still got a world championship.
Okay.
Well, 2010 saw plenty of change. Also saw the return of Michael Schumacher.
And Felipe Massa.
Felipe Massa came back to sport after his injury, so there was so much going on. We'll get into the season now. Adam, you had a really cool stat for me earlier. No driver who led the championship won a race.
Yeah. So if you were leading the championship in 2010, there was absolutely no chance you were going to win the next race. It was so unpredictable. And another interesting stat is Sebastian Vettel, who ended up winning the title, spoiler alert, didn't lead the championship until after the final race in Abu Dhabi, which I find incredible.
I can't believe that's true.
That is true.
I still don't believe you.
It is true. He was a long way behind with about 5 races to go and came from nowhere. Webber had a couple dodgy races, so did Alonso, and Vettel was really consistent the last few and just snuck it at the end.
Yeah, Alonso, it was his for the taking, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In my mind, he still won that championship, to be honest.
In the record books, he didn't.
In mine, he did.
We're used to the season starting at Albert Park, the Australian Grand Prix. But not this year. We started in Bahrain with a Ferrari 1-2, Adam.
Couldn't think of it now, could you? Starting the season with a Ferrari 1-2. It's been Mercedes dominance recently. But yeah, Fernando Alonso led home Felipe Massa in a 1-2. And we were all thinking, oh, Fernando's made a great move to Ferrari and Felipe's back. He's back after his injury to his 2008 best. Those two are going to have a great battle. But Massa kind of fell off the cliff after that. Didn't really do a lot. And Fernando gave it his best. Came up just short in the end.
I don't remember recalling Massa. Massa was just the number 2, wasn't he? For Alonso, he really was.
Yeah, well, they probably started the season equal, but then soon realised that Massa was not quite, or not anywhere near the level of Alonso, and they decided that Fernando was faster than him.
Was that in 2010?
That was in 2010.
Oh, that's one of my favourite clips.
Okay, so Fernando is faster than you. Can you confirm you understood that message?
So moving on through the season, we then went to Australia, the second race of the season. Jenson Button, Adam, got his first win there. Sebastian Vettel then picked up a win for Red Bull in Malaysia, and then we went to China.
Malaysia. I miss Malaysia.
I don't.
No? I quite liked it. Weather always had an interesting thing to say there.
Adam, this is a stat you'll like. Well, a weird one. The Turkish Grand Prix of 2010. Who got the fastest lap? Do you know that one?
Well, I don't know. It's probably someone like Kobayashi.
Vitaly Petrov.
Really? In the Renault?
Yep, in the Renault.
Vitaly Petrov.
Turkish Grand Prix is one of the most dramatic races from that season with Webber and Vettel's crash. You remember, Nick?
Yeah.
Vettel's fault, you'd say?
quite similar to the one we saw this year, wasn't it, in Brazil? Yeah. Webber and Vettel, that was, I think, where their relationship started to break down, I think. Webber notoriously not happy to be a number 2, even though he was.
But he was not bad for a number 2 driver.
Yeah, but he... this is one of those instances where he really just kept his foot down, basically, and wouldn't let Vettel pass or anything like that.
I think one of the iconic images or pieces of video from the 2010 season was at Turkey when Vettel walked away from his stricken Red Bull, twirling his hand by his ear, saying Mark Webber's crazy. Even though
he is, to be fair.
He is crazy, but that incident probably wasn't his fault, I'd say. I think Webber got quite unlucky there.
So Adam, we'll fast forward to the 24th of October 2010, the 2010 Korean Grand Prix. The season's reaching its final few stages, and a race in Korea started behind the safety car because there was so much water on the track, and it was really the downfall of Mark Webber that season.
Yeah, the debut race for Korea, I think it only lasted 3 years in F1. Quite a nice track. I wouldn't mind seeing it back over a few that we still have today. But yeah, in wet conditions, everyone was sliding around all over the place, and Webber just got unlucky. He spun, hit the wall. Didn't look like there was too much damage on his car, but then it came back across the track and he was collected by the Mercedes of Nico Rosberg, and that was the end of his race. And ultimately,
his championship.
Nico Rosberg's never far from the controversy, is he?
Ultimately, that ended his championship. Well, he could have still won if he had a better last few races, but yeah, unlucky for him on that one.
So, next race, Brazilian Grand Prix. Nico Hülkenberg takes a surprise pole after getting his strategy right, but then we go on to...
That guy's going places.
Fast forward 9 years, well...
We'll see.
And then we go on to Abu Dhabi, where it really, really started to... Well, it ramped up somewhat, didn't it, Adam?
Yeah, a rare Abu Dhabi race that was exciting. Although, not for the overtakes, for the lack of overtakes. Who pitted first, Alonso or Webber?
I think it was Alonso.
It was Alonso, and then Webber pitted to cover him, and they both got stuck behind good old Vitaly Petrov.
Yes, my guy. And yeah, it did that. It essentially cost Alonso the title, didn't it? I mean, you could say Alonso just cocked up his strategy. You know, Ferrari messing up his strategy.
Well, no way.
Yeah, I don't know. I know, but well, Petrov with. If you look back at it, he defended so aggressively. There's really no need for it. But at the same time, it sort of reminded me a bit of when Magnussen would do it now. Just unnecessarily defends a way quicker car for no reason. And he's obviously eventually going to go past them, but he just, for some reason, just doesn't. I guess I get it, but at the same time...
A perfect race, Renault would say, for Petrov.
Yeah. Yeah, and their customers, Red Bull Racing as well.
True, yeah. Guess we didn't expect early in 2010 that Vitaly Petrov would be the key man in the championship battle, did we?
The key cog, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was really dramatic, and Fernando Alonso had it all to gain, but he lost it all as Sebastian Vettel, for the first time in the entire season, led the championship and took home his first Drivers' Championship.
The youngest champion,
Nick told me. Do it.
Yeah.
Still is.
Verstappen has only next year, right?
Yeah, he has to do it next year to beat him.
Well, that really did kick off the era of Red Bull and Sebastian Vettel dominance, didn't it? Because we'll go forward to 2011 now.
Less exciting year.
Less exciting, but...
Unless you're a Vettel fan.
Unless you're a Vettel fan, then it was something.
I definitely was not a Vettel fan back then.
Yeah. He was a bit of like a brat, wasn't he? Like, as much as he is sort of a sore loser, he is a sore winner, if that makes sense. Like, if he wins, he really lets you know he wins. He's not like Hamilton, where he just says thank you to the fans and says a couple of cliches. Vettel would like extensively celebrate every win to the point where it got incredibly annoying.
That index finger used to annoy me so much.
And now I sort of miss it, though.
Yeah, he only finished off the podium twice in that season.
But it was in the 2011 season, just to put into a spotlight on his dominance, he took only 3 drivers took pole positions that year.
Yeah.
Mark Webber got 3 and Lewis Hamilton got 1. The rest went to Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah, fantastic.
And he scored 392 points, beating Jenson Button in second place by 122 points. That was...
Was that his most dominant year, or was it 2013?
I think 13 might just pip that.
It was incredible.
It was still some showing, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Credit to Lewis Hamilton. You know, he has this record of having won a race in every year, and this is one of those years where it's actually quite incredible that he won a race because
He got 3.
I mean, it's incredible because the Red Bull was just so much better.
Hamilton won in
car.
China, and then he won in Abu Dhabi as well.
Germany.
Credit to
Oh,
him.
yeah, and Germany.
Credit to him for that. But 2011. I mean, we've noticed that we've talked pretty much only about 2010 because it is 2010 and 2011 are such a night and day seasons. Because 2010 was really one of those seasons where you went into it and there was literally, 5 or 6 drivers that could realistically win the title. And 2011,
I think going into the final race, was it 4 drivers could win the title?
Yeah. Jensen got eliminated the race
pretty
before.
much from the get-go, you knew, okay, Vettel's going to win this thing again. And I think that's, if you zoom out big picture, that's, I think, the main takeaway from these 2 years.
In 2011, probably one of the biggest crashes of the decade happened as well. Sergio Perez in qualifying at Monaco.
Oh, yeah.
Came out of the tunnel, hit the wall on the right-hand side and slammed into the barrier that splits the track going down to Tabac and the runoff area.
That was a scary crash.
Ended up missing the race and missing the next race, I believe.
And 2011 also, a certain Danny Ricardo making his debut at the British Grand Prix for HRT. And
what a team they were.
Yeah, can't wait for him to come back, as has been rumoured.
Don't you remember another certain race winner making his debut that season?
In 2011?
Yeah.
Wait, was that Pastor Maldonado's first season?
His first year at Williams.
He scored 1 point that season.
God,
And what
in
a point it
Belgium.
was.
what a man.
What a
He
point
suffered
that was.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 retirements.
Yeah.
But we'll come on to Pastor Maldonado later. Guys, what are your overriding emotions from those 2 seasons?
An exciting prospect that led into Vettel dominance. So I'd sum it up.
I'd sum it up by saying false hope 2010. It gives you this hope that F1 was this scattered, everyone has it for the taking, and then it just evolves into Red Bull dominance and eventually, obviously, Mercedes dominance. But yeah, I wish I could go back to those years. And I think 2011, the biggest things that come out of 2011 is probably the introduction of DRS.
Yeah.
Because it almost doubled the amount of overtakes. Since DRS has been introduced, the lowest number of overtakes in a season has been in 2017. There were 400 and something overtakes, and before that, I think the highest since 1991 was 200 and something. So it pretty much doubled overtaking. So that, I think, is the biggest legacy of 2011.
Right, Adam, before we close the show, I'm going to give you the chance to pick your one race from the last 2 seasons we've just spoken about. Which one is it?
It's got to be the 2011 Canadian Grand Prix for me. As a big Jenson Button fan, seeing him come from last, I think he made 6 or 7 trips to the pit lane and taking that win from Sebastian Vettel on the final lap when we all thought Vettel was inhuman. We thought he was just a winning machine, and he made a mistake on the final lap in changeable conditions. Jenson went through, took the win, probably the greatest of his career. Unbelievable race, and I was so happy to see Jenson win that one.
Nick, how about yourself? Is there any race that stands out from those 2 years for you?
In terms of moments, the Fernando's faster than you scandal, if you could call it a scandal, I think it was Hockenheim 2010. That probably stuck with me most. I think Massa was crying, as he tends to do.
Harsh.
That, or maybe the 2010 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, just because it's this sort of like grand finale, and I really miss like having a grand finale to an F1
Yeah,
season.
because it's always such an anticlimax now, isn't it? Really, obviously we've got to
Since
applaud Mercedes.
2016,
I've got to applaud
I guess.
Mercedes dominance, but
Since 2016, we haven't really had, and that, I mean, it wasn't like that was a spectacular finale, but at least it went to the final race.
Abu Dhabi doesn't provide the sort of drama. The track doesn't really help it, does it?
Bring back Interlagos.
That's
as
a
the final
debate for
race.
another
That
time.
is a debate for another day. Well, guys, that's all we've got time for today. We'll be back with the 2012-2013 season review. Thank you for joining me. We'll get back in the time machine and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
See you in 2012.
See you then.
Valtteri, it's James.